Well, hello everyone. I am here today with my beautiful model. I'm going to be talking about Rusk Deepshine Demi. Our glosses are back and fully stocked, so what better time to talk about them with you guys today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the glosses first, and then we're going to get into the application with her and give you guys all the knowledge that you need if you're either new to glosses or you're not. So with the glosses, when it comes to developers with the glosses, there are two types of developers you can use with the glosses. You can either use our 0 lift or you can use 10 volume. Today I'm going to be using 0 lift. The difference with the glosses, I'm going to use 0 lift because I don't want to shift her base. I don't want to adjust it. If I was working on a blonde and I highlighted her and I wanted to have a base bump or a base shift, that's when I would use the 10 volume developer. And with our developers, they are universal. So you can not only use these with our Deepshine Demis, but you can also use them across the board with our Rusk 10, our Deepshine Permanent, and you will be just fine even with our lighteners. So that's a quick overview on the developers for you guys. And then with the Deepshine Demi portfolio, I'm going to give a quick overview for you guys, just kind of skim through and see what we do have. So what you can see right here is we have our natural series. These are red, yellow, blue. So you're going to get your primary colors. Everyone asks, are they cooler? Are they warmer? We use pure pigments when it comes to our colors. So what you're going to get is you're going to get the 3 primary colors, giving you that perfect balance of a neutral. And you're going to be able to have 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, N. Then we're going to jump down to, let me move it up closer for you guys. We're going to go to our ash series. Our ash is going to be green plus blue plus violet. Now, what you'll see that I really love with these inserts with the color swatches, I'm going to show you guys. It's going to show how much of each tone is in each gloss. So for example, with the 6A, it's green plus blue, and it's showing the balance. These little bars right here, they're very visual, just show how much, like the violet, see how that's all violet? The 8A, the blue violet, how there's just a little bit of blue and then more of that violet. So the ash series, you're gonna have 6A, 7A, 8A, 9A. And these guys are gonna really control the red and the orange, and then it's gonna control your yellow, depending on the level that you're needing. How do I get a color swatch book? So perfect, you can go get these color swatch books on Rusk Pro, sign up there, and you can order all your product and everything you see on there today. So then we're gonna also jump to the S series, and I want to reiterate, S does not mean silver, it means sand. This is probably one of my favorite series because it is the one that's not too cool, not too warm. It's like that perfect balance that you're looking for in a color. What you're going to see is it's yellow plus violet. So we have 6S, 7S, and 8S, and it's balanced equally amongst all of them. Then we have the gold series. We have a 7G and we have a 9G, and our gold is just pure yellow. It's one of my favorites when you are working with Deepshine Demi for like any sort of gray blending. The gold is what I'm going to use to help with more of that deposit of the pigment onto those coarse gray hairs to help with that blending. I will also be using today a smidge bit of 7G. So now we're going to jump down to the copper gold. So the 9CG. When my hair is fresh and in its glory, I'm just about due to get my hair color done. So all of my blondes that you guys see here, it is this gloss right here. It is the 9CG. It is absolutely beautiful, very light copper golden blonde. Our mahogany series, I can say this across the board with all of Rusk's red hair color, hands down the most pigmented, vibrant reds from our demis to our permanents that I have seen on the market. And with the 5M, it is going to give you that perfect balance of, like, if you want red wine, that is going to be your 5M for you. Then today we are going to be using our chocolate series. So our chocolate is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. We have 4CH, 5CH, 6CH. And today we're going to be using 5CH primarily with a little bit of the 4CH and then a smidge of the 7G, but I'll talk about it more once we get to there. And when I'm referring to any sort of chocolates when it comes to our permanent line and our glosses, if you are asking your client if they want a chocolate color, with ours, it's going to be more of a cinnamon chocolate. So if you have that brunette that hates any red tones in them, beware, and that's when I would go for more of like a neutral and add in the gold into it and a little bit of the chocolate, because you don't want the red tone that they might see with them being a brunette at that level to be too overwhelming. So ask them, do they like more of a cinnamon chocolate? And that's what you're going to get in these series, and you can dilute them down with the neutrals or like a 7G into it. Then we're going to have our Pearl series, which is silver and violet. And you guys can see right here, the little bar showing the equalness of the silver and the amount of violet. We have 7P and we have 9P. Then I get asked all the time, do we have anything formulated for a level 10? Yes, we do. It just doesn't say 10. That is going to be our Platinum Blonde series. So this is our gloss toners. So when you guys hear or you see me posting up gloss toners, that is in reference to these guys, and they are formulated at a level 10. And they are beige blue, so it's our BB, and it's violet, yellow plus blue. Then we have our BV, which is beige, violet, yellow, violet. Then we have our BN, which is beige, natural, violet, yellow, natural. And then, of course, we have clear, which is a really, really great tool to make sure you always have on hand. Say you ran out of a certain color and you have a darker color of that version, you can dilute it a little. If you have a super, super porous client where that blonde literally is you want to use ash on them, but it's going to soak it and turn colors you don't, that's when I will use the clear. I want to get more in depth to clear in another series, because clear is one of those that you want to know how to use it so you can make sure you're getting the vibrancy and the control out of it that you want. With processing time and our mix ratios. So in these great little inserts that you get, if you do get a color swatch, it's going to break it all down for you. The max time for processing is going to be 20 minutes. And I usually will leave on anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes depending on how the pigment is looking. Can you use clear in all the demis? You can absolutely use clear. The cool thing about all of our demis, from our OGs, what I call them, all the way to our gloss toners, to the one I almost just forgot, our expresses. So our express is our 5-minute glosses. These guys I use almost every day. We have the 6NW, which is Mocha 7N Express. It's like a neutral. And then we have our 9P, which is Pearl, and then a 9VR. So even these can be mixed with the OGs, that can be mixed with the gloss toners. Everything that you see right here, they all mix together and they all play well, really, really well together. So don't be afraid, but just know if you are working with our Express glosses, they're only 5 minutes and they are progressive. They're going to progressively get darker and darker on you. So if you're adding it to one of the OGs or the gloss toners, make sure at that 5-minute mark you're going over and you're checking the hair and you're wiping it to make sure that it's not progressively getting too dark for you. I wanted to ask if the Express deepen tone after 5 minutes. They absolutely do. So say for example, I use the 7N and I'm like, I need a 5N. I'll put the 7N on and I'll leave it on past that 5 minute and I'll keep checking it, and it's gonna progressively get darker and darker and darker. So our Express glosses are progressive. They will progressively get darker the longer you leave them on, which can be really, really cool if you're working with like the 9VR. This swatch in here, you guys, of the VR, do not let it fool you. It does not look like this on the hair. It is a soft, soft lavender. But if you did leave the VR on for a long time, it's gonna turn into this. And there are only 4 shades, and if you get creative and you think of how you can utilize these 4 shades, like for example, the 6NW, leave it on longer and you can get a 5, 4, 3, and a 2. The 7, leave it on longer and you can get more. And you can also add these into your originals to get your time cut down or add more depth in. But stay tuned if you guys do love these, there could potentially be more. The mix ratio with the glosses, it's going to be a 1-to-1 mix ratio using either your 0 lift or your 10 volume developer. You are so welcome. Okay, then next up, we are going to talk about what I like to finish when I am done with my color service. So shampoo wise, I use a range of shampoos depending on what they're needing, like Platinum X, which is our violet pigmented shampoo. If it's a blonde, I'll shampoo with that. If it's my regular brunette, I'll use the Color RX. If it's a client that's needing, you know, a clarifying, I'll use the charcoal. So those I will use differently depending on client and what their hair is. But once I rinse out my glosses, I am going to use the 2-minute hair mask. This is going to seal down the cuticle, help lock in that color molecule, and give a insane shine. And with this mask, you can use it on any hair texture from fine to coarse, and it's not going to weigh it down. It's not going to leave the residue. The smell is phenomenal. This is my like finishing touch to make sure that the gloss service is going to have a lot of longevity, and our glosses have a intense shine to them, but this is going to help that shine on top of it. So imagine doing your gloss service for your client, putting it with the 2-minute mask. You are giving them the max shine and the max health of their hair, because our glosses also have marine technology in them. They have like kelp in them, they have minerals in them, everything to help nourish the hair as well. So we're creating a healthy, happy hair as we are toning and we are using our mask. All right, so the tools that we are going to be using today, I want to tell you guys and express it. Make sure you are using your gloves. Our skin is our biggest organ, and being hairstylists, and especially females, we are prone to breast cancer because of the colors and the chemicals we are exposed to. So making sure that we are using protection on our hands. I'm not the best at it at the shampoo bowl. I am trying, but make sure you have gloves, even though it's glosses and we know they're not going to stain our hands like permanent. Please grab for it. Then we are going to make sure we have our toner bottles. She has a lot of hair, and sometimes I might go with a bowl and brush. Sometimes I might use a toner bottle. We're using Product Club's toner bottle because I'm just going to go on and I'm going to fully saturate. And as I'm fully saturating, if I need areas, especially around her front hairline, I'm going to go through with my root brush, and I'm going to help make sure that that color is really laid down and where it needs to be. Then next up, we're going to make sure that we have our boards. These boards are going to help preserve and give you more product. The amount of product I go through when I don't use a board versus when I do use a board is a big difference. When I'm using a board and I'm applying the product on it, it's going to help that saturation and cut down the overuse of me trying to saturate it when it's already pressed down and saturated. Kind of like when you're doing foils and you're using your board with your blonde to make sure you get that saturation. You would be shocked a lot of times when you go and you look, if you use a board versus not, you're probably going to go through a lot more color when you're not, because you're actually utilizing the saturation with the board and getting it all through and seeing it, versus constantly just hoping you're reloading and reloading. Then next up, we are going to be using Eye Blend Brush from Olivia Garden. Even though I'm going to go through and we're going to saturate with the board, I'm going to go through and make sure that I am brushing it through the hair. And I'll typically use this brush. Occasionally, I might use a Galaxy brush. What you're seeing that's similar is these brushes are not brushes that are going to absorb the color. So when we have softer like detangle brushes that will absorb the color and stain it, I don't like using those. I like to use these brushes that I can clean and not have any stains on and make them look more professional. They also, with the Eye Blend brush, its bristles are created to help with the saturation and getting through hair color specifically. So these are my go-to. We're going to be using the Eye Blend brush today. And then, so for color formula, what we're going to do, so she has, I'll let you guys see her hair. She's got a lot of hair. She's got a ton of it. It's very long. So I am going to mix up, I brought enough color to mix up quite a bit. Usually I'm good with 1 bottle of gloss, but we brought 4 just to do our due diligence. And I want to make sure we're doing a chocolate. So with our formula, my primary part of my formula is going to be the 5CH. And what we're going to do is we're going to pour in the entire bottle. There are 2 ounces in each bottle. And we are going to pour the entire 2 ounce of the 5CH. Now, I want to give a little bit more depth to the 5CH, but I don't want a 4. I don't even want a 4.5. This is when you're customizing your color formulas for what you're wanting versus just like dumping in the 5CH and knowing it's a beautiful chocolate. But that's when I'll go in and I'll go, okay, I want a little bit more depth. And when I say depth, a little bit more darkness. So we're gonna go in with the 4CH and I'm gonna measure up just a 1/2 ounce, okay? Now, I want to add a little bit of the gold, like I told you guys. So our gold is also going to help with any gray blending. And I want to help blend any of the grays that are going around her front hairline, and it's going to really help with the color and the deposit. And I also love the reflections that it's going to use. Now this is a 7G. You're like, Katie, that's a 7. You're using a 5 and a 4. How is that going to work? I am just grabbing this to get the yellow because these are created with pure pigments. So I'm wanting purely this for a little bit of the yellow in it to help with that. And I feel like anytime I add any sort of G to my formulas, it gives that extra like richness to it, that reflection of it. And so then we're gonna add this one, just a 1/2 ounce. So total we have 3 ounces of color. And now we're gonna go in with our zero lift because we do not want to shift her base. I'm wanting to do deposit only, and we are gonna fill this up all the way to the 6 ounce. And we have 6 ounces total. I'm gonna clean up my color tray and get resituated so I can shift to coloring her hair. And if you guys have any questions, you can ask right now. I can see what's going on. Here in a minute, I'm gonna have my hands filled with color. You can see my tray set up as well. I always keep a towel next to me because that towel, if I need to grab something, reach for it, and keeping your hands clean during the process is super important. Oh, and a side note I'm gonna add to her, a disposable cape. I'm gonna lay this over the back of her. So any mess I make, I will remove this after coloring her, and then her cape will be nice and clean for her. All right, you guys, let's shift you. All right, now you're in frame. So we're gonna get our gloves on, and these are Product Club gloves. I prefer to use a glove that goes all the way up and covers over my wrist area. These are also great when you're in the shampoo bowl so the water doesn't seep in and give you nice wet hands that you're gonna work on. So with a gloss, we're not trying to spend a ton of time. It's not like we're doing a precision application. It's not even how you would look at how you do a root application. We're just wanting to keep this nice and easy. We're gonna shake, shake, shake. Make sure you give the bottle a really good shake. What I love about when you shake it really diligently is it's going to create a thicker consistency with it and give you a little bit more control with it. All right, and then be careful when you let go of the tip because sometimes the color will shoot out. We are going to clip up her hair and we're going to put on her the disposable cape. And I love using these. I take them to shows. If I have a big color service that I know that's going to get crazy, these guys I like to pull out. Then I also love to use these on my clients that are extra short, and you know those ones, and you get them to the shampoo bowl and all the water goes down their neck because they're a little shorty. These guys I'll put underneath the cape and then they're gonna help with the protection. I have to take off my gloves, I think. It does not want to open up for me. Let's go in. It's kind of like when you're at the grocery store and you're getting produce and you're trying to get that bag open. There we go. There we go. So we're just gonna open up and this is gonna drop all the way down. And we're just gonna place it on backwards and then tie in the front. So with her sectioning, like I said, there's no precise intricate sectioning. I'm just gonna literally work from back to front on her. If I was doing like a root touch-up, we would go into our quadrants, we would have a precision, But with this, we're just depositing color onto her hair, and gloss is very, very forgiving. It melts, it moves, and grooves anywhere it needs to go. So she has her middle part. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna section from her left ear, right ear from her middle part. We're gonna take our clips and clip that away. And so we're just gonna be working through the entire back section on her. So we have our front section away. Now we're gonna come in to the back, and we are gonna do a horizontal section. And then make sure you're using, like, these clips are really, really big. They're gonna be able to hold her hair up for me. So we're gonna come up, we're gonna do a nice little twist, and then we're gonna clip away. We're gonna pull out our board. And what we're gonna do, let me move you guys closer so you can see. There we go, that's better for you guys. So now we're gonna come in, make sure we get all of her hair. Now what I'm really wanting to concentrate the color on is her hair that's already been lightened versus her root area. So we're gonna come in and we're gonna zigzag the color, and then we're gonna start to gloss it, and then I'm using my 2 fingers and melting it up into her root area. Now, if I was working with a bowl and color brush, this is when I would take the board, I'd place it underneath, dip into my color, and then I would smooch it like that. We could still come on here with this, and it's gonna help prevent any color from dropping down below and creating a mess, and it's gonna help with your saturation as well. So it's kind of finding your preference, your rhythm, and what works well. These boards will save you a lot of product long term when you are using them and working with a gloss. We're gonna come through with our eye blend brush. And this is one of the biggest steps you guys have to make sure that you're doing, is going through with the brush, because too often what happens is you're not saturating all of the hair fully, because there will be hairs in between that are getting left out, and then that's when you're gonna miss out. When you go to rinse out that client, look at the color and it's not gonna be as vibrant as per se you were predicting. And one of the reasons, besides formulation, is always application. So making sure that this application is fully saturated, combing it through, using your fingers, and just being very aware, and don't be lazy. I see a lot of that where we get stuck in our ways and we start to get a little lazy, and that's what will happen. And we're just utilizing our fingers right up here at the root, applying. Then I'm gonna come over, grab my eye blend brush, and we're gonna blend it. And then I'm gonna marry it with the section below, and I'm gonna do a once over on these guys. With ends on hair, the ends are the driest. They also absorb color very fast. So I will always make sure I go through the ends and I resaturate. Even once I'm done with the application and they're ready to process, I will go back through again on them and I will resaturate those ends. And majority of time, I will see that the ends have dried out. No matter how much saturation I do on them, that's what they will do. Just zigzagging as we're coming through, getting our fingers walking up the color, melting it all the way down. We're gonna get our eye blend brush, and I'm getting her root area. It's getting covered. If say she was wanting to have gray blending back here and worried about those grays, I definitely would go in with a bowl and color brush and do more of like a refined sectioning onto her roots. However, I like this technique because it's leaving a little bit of her root natural. It's not coloring it with the gloss. So it's going to give me a different tonality at her root area and not just like one dark root that's going through. And keep with your horizontal sections. And the size of this section, don't take more than what you can handle. I usually take a little bit bigger than I would for a slice on a highlight. And not going down the back and working from left to right, that can be a daunting task and take much longer. And you can see up here, I am getting on her roots, and I could come up here and with my brush that I keep on the side and apply it at her roots if I wanted. And then we're gonna come through, zigzag it all the way down. So as I'm doing this, I wanna talk to you guys about clear. I saw it as a comment and a question. Clear can be used with all of the glosses. And what you want to look at is clear is it can be used multiple ways. One of the ways is, say, I wanted to use the 5CH, the chocolate that I'm using on her, but all I had in my studio for the day was the 4CH. And that's the color I wanted to use. What I would do is I would use my 4CH, I would dilute it slightly with the clear. But just know that when you do dilute, you are diluting some of the pigment as well. So what you think you're creating a 5CH by adding that clear to that 4CH, you are, but you're not gonna have the same pigmentation because you are diluting down that pigmentation. So be aware of that. It's a great tool when you're in a pinch and you're out of a color, or maybe, you know, a color, you know, it's on back order, you can't get your hands on it. You can get creative, but if you're adding that clear, then maybe find like a 5, like a 5N that you could add in, add a little bit of that 7G in. Make sure you're adding that tonality back into the hair so that that gloss doesn't just look flat, because that's the last thing we want from a gloss, is for it to look flat. When our glosses have so much shine, and it's almost like you're doing a treatment in the hair as well when you are doing a gloss treatment. And what I like to, when I'm explaining to my clients what's the difference between a gloss and permanent color. So permanent color is like a black legging. Put it over your skin, you're not gonna see it. Gloss is like a black pantyhose. Put that over your skin. You're gonna see that skin coming through, and you're gonna have a slight coverage. It's not the same coverage as the legging over, so that's the difference. You can use the same formula with both of them, but just know your gloss is more of like, say this is more like a chocolate pantyhose over the hair, versus if she wanted to really keep the chocolate color and not like change up, I would then go in with a chocolate permanent color of this version for her. That way she'd have more longevity of it. It would have a little bit more depth, because glosses, they give that high shine. They give that beautiful hair gloss. But the difference between a demi and a permanent, that's something that you have to be aware of when you are picking what color is best for your client. And with our glosses, like I had mentioned to you guys earlier, mix them together. I try to make sure I come across to you guys on my social when I am speaking about our glosses with my formulas, that I am mixing sometimes the OGs with the gloss toners. The express glosses, hands down, I use them every day. One of my favorite things to use them for is the 9P 9VR. When I have a blonde that wants to be platinum, that is my go-to platinum color that I love to use, and it's only for 5 minutes. With the Express Gloss, since it's progressive, you can also get really, really creative with it, in a sense where the P, if you leave it on longer and longer, it's gonna progressively get darker and darker on you. And you can create some really cool tones and colors with that. Some really smoky dark silvers. Like when I have a client who has a natural level 1 to 3, the 9P and 9VR are my best friend, because I will leave them on their hair longer, and it is going to control, cancel, and then give that intense ash look that they are truly wanting. Let's see. You do the demi first on the mids and ends, and then the roots with permanent. You could do that. Say she was 100% gray and she was coming in for a root service, I would use, and she wants to cover up those roots 100%, I would use permanent color on her roots, apply it at her roots, and I never like to pull through permanent color from mids to ends except for maybe the first service or once in a blue moon. I will create that same formula and permanent color in a gloss and pull it from mids to ends. So that is a root retouch refresh because you're refreshing the mids and ends. And that's how I would do the application with that. And when I'm doing a root touch up with a refresh, I always go through and I get the roots on first, especially if one of their main goals is to make sure that they are getting full coverage on those roots. I want that color to be on. I want it to have that time to saturate, and then it also gives me time. I'm going through and I'm putting the gloss on if I feel like when I'm cross-checking as I'm applying the gloss to see if any of that root needs more saturation. And a lot of times I'll go through and I'll resaturate. Would you say the Demis are more translucent or more opaque? So like I was explaining before, you know, Demi color across the board, no matter what brand it is, you're gonna have, it's a difference between it being like a translucent versus opaque. So opaque is gonna be more coverage. That's gonna be like your permanent color versus a Demi is gonna be like that black pantyhose I was saying. So once again, a permanent color is like put that black pantyhose over that skin. You're not going to see the skin through it. It's going to give that full coverage, full saturation. Take a black pantyhose, put it through on the skin. You're going to slightly see the skin through it, but it's not that full intense. And think about the grow out. So you put that permanent on, imagine it like the black legging. As it starts to grow out, you're going to see more of a line of demarcation. And so that's why if they're just wanting gray blending, they want something low maintenance, that's when I will vouch for a gloss, because it's going to slowly start to soften up over time, because water is hair color's enemy. And each time they wash their hair, whether it's permanent or a gloss, it's going to slowly start to fade that on them. Now with our glosses, when I gloss my client, it can last them anywhere from 1 to 2 months, depending on how well they're taking care of their hair, how often they're washing their hair, do they have hard water, you know, a bunch of different factors do go in. Do they have super porous hair? I have a lot of my lived-in color, when they come in and they get their big balayage service, I'll have them come in between those services for a quick little 1-hour appointment. We'll do a gloss, we'll do a 2-minute mask, we'll do a haircut. You know, we're treating the hair and we're keeping the hair looking beautiful in between those big long appointments we do. I must have missed that part. You're so welcome. It's the best way I can visually explain the difference between permanent and demi color is how much they cover and the pigment of them, and it's picking out what is best for your client. And utilizing that the best way. If I had a client that did not want the maintenance of a permanent color on her root, but yet she was still really concerned with her grays, that's when you need to have a conversation with your client in regards to, okay, so if we put permanent color on you, we can handle and cover all of your grays, but you're going to see a line of demarcation really start to shine around week 4. Or we could put a gloss on you and we can blend. And how I explain what gray blending is it's going to cover some of their grays, but those grays that are those really coarse, wiry guys, because we're not using permanent color, we're just depositing, it's not going to cover those. So it's more of a natural, refined look. It's a softer look for them. It's going to blend it. And that's honestly what I've seen a lot of shift to. Is clients embracing more of their gray or their glitter, as I call it, coming through versus the full coverage on their grays. It's softer, it's easier, and the gray blending can actually do a lot for some of them. If a client was 50% more with her gray, perhaps not. Then I would probably go through and do lowlights and highlights. Lowlights with permanent color and then highlights to break it up to kind of blend out her gray that way, because once you start to have that much gray, to do any sort of gray blending is not going to be beneficial in any sort of way. All right, let me scoot this out so you guys can see me again, and I can talk to you guys. Okay. And an FYI, we are fully stocked on Rusk Pro with all the glosses that you guys need. You can go on there, you can go to Cosmoprof, you can go to Marlo, all your places to get your Rusk glosses. You can go snag them up. Getting into some of my favorite colors. This is honestly one of my favorite rich brunette tones. When you guys see me post up like the luxury brunette, the velvet brunette, I'm using some form of the chocolate in their color because it gives that richness to the color for them. Cherry Cola. Cherry Cola has been a really big trend that you guys have been seeing. If you were to use it with the Rusk Deepshine Demi Glosses, the Cherry Cola formula that I like to use is, I use 5N, 5M, 6R, and mix them up together depending on how rich they want it. And those are my tones for the Cherry Cola. For the beigey blondes, the soft blondes that we've been seeing a lot of, I like to use the gloss toners, the BN, the Beige Neutral. That is my go-to for that. And then I'll love to add like 9G in it to give it a little bit more richness into it. All right, you guys, I'm finishing up the back. I have completely talked your guys' ears off. I'm gonna give you guys another minute if you have any questions in regards specifically to Rusk Deepshine Demi. Speak now, and if not, I am gonna save this on my page, and then I will be adding Rusk as a collaborator, so you guys will see it on Rusk's page as well. If you guys come over there and you have any questions that you couldn't think of right now, you can ask there. And so we are just finishing up saturation, making sure we're using our eye blend brush, really blending down, getting that saturation. And when I pull up her ends, you guys can't see it very well, but some of these ends are already trying to dry out on me, even though I went back and I saturated and saturated. So that's just a little reminder to make sure you saturate. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna finish with my color application on her, and then you will have to wait and see later today. I'm gonna post up her after. We'll do a video, and then like I said, this will be saved on my page, Rusk's page, so any questions you couldn't think of now, or maybe you're watching it later, let me know then. But have a beautiful day, you guys. Bye.